Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us here today at the Corning Museum of Glass. Welcome to our Amphitheater Hot Shop, where we have a very special guest. We have Kirsten Hermansson as our guest artist for the week. Let's get a big round of applause going for Kirsten. Thank you so much. We are mid-sculpture, so we wanted to start this a little bit earlier so we could get this showcase through the live stream and finished during the live stream, but also so we'd have time to start another sculpture. The live stream has begun, so those of us at home, welcome into our hot shop as well. Thank you for joining us. Those of us here in-house and at home, if you have questions at all, let me know. I'm Katie. I'll narrate this process. We have a lovely team I'll go ahead and introduce as well. Chris is going to turn the pipe here. He's going to be with Kirsten. Catherine is helping out as well. Jesse is here. Tom is here. And then we have our awesome AV team. So yeah, all right. So we're going to build this sculpture up. And then, again, we'll switch to another one after, but we really wanted to show off everything that she's been working with and working with us on here at the museum. So far, what we have built is these, we're taking color bar. We're taking bars of color. They're Kugler glass bars of color. And, oops, and she has sculpted the outside. So she has used a saw or a bit to grind and design the outside. We put them in an oven. We heat that oven up to a temperature to where you can stick the glass onto the glass. It'll adhere, so above 1,000 degrees. And then we have been adding them on one by one. We start with a large chunk of glass on the end of a pipe. That pipe is very strong because we're going to add about 80 pounds of glass on the end of it. So we start with that, and then those bars were added into that oven, and then they're brought out one by one. So the core there, the base is heated, that first one gets applied, and then the base is heated again, the second one gets applied, and so on and so forth, and we build that up. So that's the only part that we started with there. We'll kind of splice that together for this permanent video that will go on our YouTube series, so you can check that out too if you didn't tune in before. But so yeah, that's what we have going so far. A big collage of these amazingly carved pieces of Kugler color bar. Very exciting. So there goes another one. We're going to heat the area that it needs to stick onto. That heated area only goes, if it becomes really gooey, it could be around about 1,700 degrees or so, but it does need to be a good enough connection to where those two will stick and fuse together forever. So we do heat that with that hot torch. The torch that she uses is about 4,000 degrees Fahrenheit. You'll see her turn that off and on as we go here. And then Chris will go into the oven. Traditionally, if you're someone who follows glass making, you're used to seeing us pick up the pipe and put it on the workbench and work in that area of the workbench. But this is too heavy, and we're not going to do that. That's pretty taxing to do that for an hour and a half. So instead, we're going to keep it on the yoke. That's that piece of equipment that's rolling in and out of that reheating chamber. And that's required. We have to keep reheating this, so the glass will start to get too cold and fall apart and break. You have to keep the glass above about 900 degrees while you're working with it, or else it will crack and break. So we need to go into that oven. So Chris doesn't want to take it back to the workbench. There's really no need for it. We set up everything around that area, and we'll just keep adding things there. So it's a little bit of a different setup. And our camera view is set up for that too. Of course, we have Alexis here on the floor to get those close-ups, but then a nice kind of bird's eye view from the top. So awesome. And we're going to just keep building this up as we go. This gives me a good chance to talk about our artist, Kirsten. And so she is from Norway. She currently lives in Sweden with her husband, Peter, who's here as well. He's helping us too. Her sculpture glassworks have a powerful presence and are characterized by the bold color combinations. You'll see their bold color combinations. This is just one facet. Let me talk a little bit more about other things first. She also has brought with her larger scale castings of glass color that she uses and puts into a mold and then casts those so that they all are fused together. She'll bring them to the hot shop. She'll put them in an oven, heat that oven up slowly because those parts are a bit thicker, and then we're assembling those together too. So that's the second part of this demonstration is we're going to do one of those large-scale sculptures. So she does a lot of glass casting. She is a glass blower. She's classically trained in glass casting and mold making and in glass blowing, and she's been doing that for 17 years. And so we have some of those pieces done in an oven. You can come up and we'll show you that later on after the show. And then she does have maybe just the bars laid out around the side here. She might have some of those. So you can check that out too and go look at them. Yeah, otherwise the castings are locked away in an oven right now because we're going to pull them out later. Any questions so far? Just want to check in. Yeah. Is it what? Yeah, those color bars are completely made up of color. So think of it like as a pure ingot of color. Huh? They're all that same color. It's kind of like a periwinkle blue. Yeah. Yeah, it's like a white, like a bluish white. Yeah. We did a sculpture earlier where they were all purple. We've done all blue. We've done like a really light kind of Tiffany's blue. Yeah, this one's kind of a periwinkle. Any other questions? Awesome. All right. All right. So we have created so far, we've created about, I'd say, 6 or 7 of the castings stuck together, kind of assembled sculptures. We've made about 6 or 7 of those. And then of these towers, we've probably made about 4 to 5 to 6 of those. I'm not too sure. But overall, Kirsten sent over right around about 1,000 pounds of color bar here to work with this for this week. And she's been preparing for this residency since August. And so she has really put the pedal to the metal. She's come in ready to work, and we've been able to make a lot of amazing things. It's been so fun. She said that she carved about 350 rods. She uses the saw. So there's a big saw with a diamond blade. The blade is made of diamonds. Encrusted diamonds, and you can use that saw as it's water fed, and you can grind glass with it, and that's what she used to grind some of these rods down. And then she also could use a diamond wheel too, like your lathe. You can put a diamond wheel on that and then carve that as well. When you carve glass, it does get a little bit foggy or like more of a matte finish, and you can keep that, but when you heat it up like this, generally some of it will melt away and it will polish into a nice shiny glossy look. And she does that purposefully also. So when she does pick some of these objects up and it does have that matte look, she'll glossify it, if you will. She'll heat that area and smooth that she'll smooth that matte down. We call that fire polishing. So she'll fire polish here in the hot shop. She said she casted 10 cylinders, and then she cuts and carves those too. So she cuts those on the big diamond saw, and she carves the sides of them to get them to have this really dynamic kind of texture on the outside. And then the color that she uses, like I mentioned, is Kugler. She uses rod, like we're seeing here. But for those large-scale sculptures that we're going to take out, and I can talk more about this when we get there, but those sculptures are also made of rod, powder, and frit that has all been attached and melted together in the casting process. So rod is one way that we can add glass color. This is another rod here. This is actually a green. This is a transparent color, so it's very dense in this form. It'll look like this dark color, but it's actually a light green. You can also get it in frit, which is little granules of crushed up glass color. So this is like sprinkles. You roll it up onto to the outside of a piece of glass or a gather from the furnace, and then it melts in. And then you can also get that in powder form, where it's glass powder. You can add that in different ways. You can sift that onto the surface of the glass. It'll melt in that way. So she uses a combination of the three for her sculptures. She was saying earlier, as she builds these, she creates the base, a nice sturdy base, but then she kind of wants to bring it upward, but she lets it kind of go itself as she works with it. She'll start to say, as she's applying each and every piece, she'll start to be able to kind of see it all come together. And so she does do some drawing and preparation for some things, but a lot of times the process is done here. And that's, I think, a lot of the fun for her. Another important reason that we have Kirsten here is because Glasma has helped get her here. Glasma has graciously sponsored our guest artist program this year, and we're very honored for that. So thank you so much. And the glass that we use is Glasma. It is a wonderful glass. It's very clear. It works really well. It stays hot. It's wonderful. So that we're not using a whole lot of Glasma glass during this process, but we sure rely on it heavily. At the end of this pipe is where what we call the punty, the end there is that little bit of glass that's going to be the base of the piece to stick all these pieces onto. So without that, we wouldn't be able to make this, and without Glasma sponsoring us, we wouldn't have Kirsten here. So we're very excited about that. Sure. Questions online. Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Good questions online are about, some of us are seeing that these rods are being placed onto the vessel and then they're breaking in the reheating chamber. That happens. It's not ideal. But what's happening is when you put glass from a 1,000 degree oven into a 2,000 degree oven, that temperature jump is pretty drastic for glass, and sometimes the rods can break and crack because of the thermal shock. We do have that oven there that Catherine's opening and shutting. We have it turned up to about 1070, which is really high for color bar in an oven, depending on the color bar. But we're opening a really large front loader, so a lot of the heat is coming out, and we're losing a little bit of heat. So the oven's a little cold, so sometimes that will shock some of those bars. When it breaks off, Kirsten doesn't fret. She's not unhappy about it. She sees that as a part of the process, and she likes to work with that happenstance. And so if we do get some of those parts that break off and they land, and so here's how we do it on a tech standpoint here for the reheating chamber inside of there. The bottom is lined with what we call grog. Think of it as kitty litter. It's like little granules of refractory material that when the glass falls onto that, it'll melt in a little bit, and then we can take it out now. We can even take it out tomorrow. That prevents that glass from melting into the soft brick that lines the inside of that reheating chamber, and that will, over time, eat away at the bottom of that kiln. So it's really common for there to be glass at the bottom of a reheating chamber. Just in the grand scheme of things, it's not ideal. It does threaten the health of that equipment. But we here are seeing these. What's so cool about this inside of the reheating chamber camera is that we can see the pieces popping off, and we'll go right in and we'll retrieve those right away before they sink down into that little bed of grog. So, yeah, you're seeing Jesse or Tom gather glass from our main melting furnace, use that glass to pick up those little chunks out of the oven. So that keeps the integrity of our oven up and keeps it nice and clean. But yeah, it's definitely happening. We had a piece earlier that like all of the color bars, maybe like the first 2 or 3 were like cracking completely in half and off. And we had to adjust our oven. We had to adjust how we were doing things. And that's a part of this process too. It's just being able to adapt. So you can see all those really amazing textures that she's carved into the side of those bars. They're all very different. There aren't any of them that are exactly the same. I wish we would have counted how many bars we put on this one. But I think we're up to, I don't know, probably 20, 25. It's so important to have Catherine there to bring the bar out and give it to Kirsten so that she can just grab it and put it onto the piece. So that's another thing we had to adjust, is minimizing the amount of time that the bar was taken out of that cold oven and put into the oven, into our big hot oven. Earlier she was opening the door, grabbing the bar, shutting the door, then turning around and adding it. That now, because Catherine's helping, she can just grab the bar and assemble it right on, and that goes into the oven as quickly as possible. So teamwork is very important, especially here at the museum and during these demonstrations and during guest artist demonstrations. So she starts to heat the center of that with that hot torch. That starts to get that part really warm, and it makes it easier to apply all of those bars when we start to apply them to the section, the middle section. This piece is, so each kilo of, well, I should back up. Each bar is about 1 kilo, which is about 2.5 pounds. And so each time we're adding a bar, we're adding 2.5 pounds, 2.2 pounds. So if you want to do the math on how heavy that is by now, if there's maybe 20 of them on there, there's about, about 45 pounds of glass. So we have a lot of ways here at the museum to reduce the carrying weight of glass and carrying it into the oven to cool it slowly and back and forth from the bench. So you all know that we don't, at this point, are not going to lift it. We have this set up nicely for that. This is going to go into one of the ovens here on the stage. And since a lot of the objects that we're working with are very thick, we need the ovens to slowly cool for a lot longer. So when glass heats up, it expands, and when it cools, it contracts. If it happens really quickly, the glass will crack and break. So if it heats up too quickly or cools down too quickly, stress will form in the glass, and it will come out in the form of cracks. You don't want your glass to crack. And so in order to get these really thick pieces down to room temperature, you have to slowly cool it down. Now, generally, everything must be annealed. Your windows, jars, your pickle jars, your bottles, things like that need to be annealed. Everything does. So some of our standard, bowls and vases and pitchers, those need about a day or so, 12 hours or so to slowly cool. These pieces need between 3 and 5 days to slowly cool. So as we work, we're filling up our annealers. Our annealer then goes down over the course of 5 days. So here in the museum, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 annealers. And 1, 2, 3, 4 are unable to be used today or the next day or the next day. So we have to plan which annealers we need, how much we can fit in one annealer, and then if we have enough for the next day. So we're going to put all the things that we make today into that top loader over there. I think we'll still have some room in it for tomorrow. But we do have one in the back that we're loading even bigger sculptures in, so that one will cool down even slower than this one here. So a lot of planning, a lot of finagling, and coordination. And that's what's so lovely about this week residency program and guest artist program here at the museum, is that we can try to give them the best that we can here. And the opportunity to make whatever they want. So this has been a really fun week. Any other questions here? We had that question online. Any other questions online? Awesome. Tom is heating up the punty, the back part of the punty where it attaches to the pipe, because that's the coldest part on the glass. And that's what's holding it onto the pipe. If it gets too cold, that area will crack and break and the whole piece will pop right off that punty. So his job at this point is to keep that nice and warm. And Chris's job is to turn. These two might switch later on just to ease the burden of that, of turning this piece. So we'll just see how it goes and how they're feeling. Kirsten, when she first started working with this process and this glass, and applying this together like we're doing now, she was using tools, and she realized that she was a little bit slower using tools. And tools, I'm not saying tool using is bad or anything, but for this in particular, she said that gloves really work a lot better. It's faster, it's more efficient. So we can use Kevlar gloves for that. I mean, applying 40 bars together, you know, just kind of using tools precariously is a lot more difficult than just grabbing it with those Kevlar gloves and using them to push those onto the sculpture. So those gloves are like double coated. We have it's Kevlar, and then we have another Kevlar mitt that goes over the mitt part. And you could hold onto glass for a bit of time with those Kevlar gloves on. Not forever, but for a little bit of time. But they're very comfortable to wear. If you're holding glass, you don't ever really feel the glass in those little bits of time. As we're heating this, it's falling if we stop turning. And so that does get the whole thing a little bit off over time. Every once in a while, you'll see that she'll kind of let it fall and hold one part up, and they'll flip it over and kind of do the same. That's her adjusting it to get it centered. And of course, that's up to her. She can give it a curve. She can kind of let it be that way if she wants, but these are, she's calling them towers, so we kind of probably want them to stay straight up, be even. We are thinking about the height of the reheating chamber. If it's too short, we can't go that tall. Does that make sense? We can't go taller than the reheating chamber, basically. So a good way to see it is through this reheating chamber camera. And that last bar, if it's really close and it's really big in that camera view, we know we're a little close to the very edge of the wall. The camera view is brought to you by a special piece of glass called fused silica. As the window in the back of the oven, the camera is actually outside of the oven. So in the back of that oven, when we get close to it with these rods, it'll be pointing right at that window. And so you can tell by the scale of that rod how close it is to the camera, therefore the back of that oven. And if this is too long, you can't heat the part of the glass that's connected to the pipe, and it will get too cold and crack and break. So we do have a size limit for everything made out of glass. If you can't put it into an oven to keep it hot, and it needs to stay hot, it can't be bigger than that oven. Same with the annealing oven. If it's too big to fit into those annealing ovens or any annealing oven that you have, you can't cool it, which means it will crack and break. So you need to think about those sizes. And this is organically created, and now she starts to have a plan as she starts to build it up. But we do, after, I think there's only been one that we said, okay, we can't go taller than that. And she's like, yeah, great, sure. But it is fun to max the glory hole out. We've definitely been pushing it to its limits. It's very exciting. What is the limit? I don't know the exact measurement. This long, I'd say. Yeah. Maybe that long. Maybe 3 or 4 feet. Yeah. Good question. That's pretty long for a reheating chamber. But yeah, still can be thought of as short, especially when we want to go really tall with these. Look at that. Okay, we added about 4 more inches. Almost. Still got some space. Huh? We probably have maybe 1 or 2 more rods to put on, and then we're going to put it away. But then we're going to start our other sculpture up, so don't turn your video off or your screen off. We're going to start right up again. Yeah, nice and warm right in the middle. So that's where it's moving the most. That's why it's curving like that every time we flip it. It's curving right in the middle. So there she goes. She'll hold it. Let that curve center. And that keeps it a little more in line. Yeah, question online, how are these rods made? Kugler melts hundreds of different glass colors in their furnaces. So they have hundreds of different furnaces to melt glass colors. Or they'll melt a certain color 1 month and then melt another one. But to make them, they melt the color in the furnace, which is basically in a big ceramic bowl called a crucible and inside of a furnace. They'll take the glass out in gathers on a pipe and then roll this out into the rods like that. Just rolling it out on a table, elongating them into the bars. And then they are broken off the end and then put away in the oven to cool slowly and then sold to glass makers. Yes. Do we have bigger annealing ovens? That's our biggest one. We have about 4 of those big ones. Over the studio, we have very big ovens. We have the casting center there, and they have very, very large ovens so that we can put large pieces in. And huh? Probably, yeah. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, definitely. But very large. So yeah, you have to, have the means and the need for an oven that big. So casting center definitely would have that. This is pretty big. That's why we have big ovens here, is for things like this. This is why we're so excited to have Kirsten here, utilize all of our ovens. Yeah, great. We are going to put this into the annealing oven. We're done with the bar. So we push that oven away that has the bar in it. I know there's so many ovens here, so bear with me as I just say the word oven over and over again. But we're going to put this into the annealing oven in just a little bit. Right now, she's going to focus on straightening it. She's holding it with the gloves. Look at that. She's literally bending it. She's not going to, push on it too hard. We don't need it to be pushed that hard. You could risk breaking the sculpture. We rely on the heat to do the work for us. Just guiding it straight. It's a really great looking tower. We're torching some areas that we might want to stick together a little bit more. we're preparing to take this off of the punty, which means we want to put lots of water on that connection point. You see that there's the part connected to the pipe, and then there's a little line between it and then the part that's the base of the glass. The line in the middle is what we call a neckline or a jack line, but it's a weakness in the glass that we can get to break free and release it from the pipe. And so we're going to cool it in that area, thermally shock it, and purposefully cause it to crack. And then it will be taken into the oven. But we're just making sure all the little spots where it touches down is hot. Making sure it's, whoop, there it goes. All right. Well, we've maxed out the oven. It's official. Yep. So we want to make sure everything is perfect before we put it away. We're just gonna, you see on the camera that the moil, that's what the part of the punny is called, is cracking. We are gonna melt that in. We're gonna reheat it. Get that back to being happy. Into the oven. Boy, it's close. I'm going to jump in and help. Group effort. Last little bit of straightening before this gets put away. So Jesse's going to put this into the oven. He's got a silver suit on, which is Kevlar with silver reflection on the outside. It's the very safe way to put this into the oven. He's got Kevlar mitts on, and then a face shield, and then a hood over his head too, so completely protecting the top part of our body as he puts it into the oven like that. Make sure we are careful. And it's a top loader, or it's a front loader, but we have to walk up to the top one up there. In the meantime, Chris is going to start the other punty for our other sculpture that we're gonna assemble. Maximize our time. But now we're really winding this down, so we want this to stop moving before we put it away into the oven. If you put the glass away and while it's still moving, big objects like this are going to hold their heat more than others, than smaller things that are thinner. So if you put it into the oven, it'll still have some heat to it, but if it is still moving, it'll slump. It's a tricky thing with these thicker sculptures. So we want to get it right. So Chris gathers a few gathers of glass out of our tank, our beautiful glasma. And he'll shape that into a punty. That's just, I think he'll get one, definitely one more, if not two, over that. All right, so we're almost there. All right. To get that to break, we're going to add something called to the constriction line. It'll be water. It'll be water. Lots of water. And Jesse's underneath it because that could pop off at any point. And then a crack. That breaks it off. And then we're going to go over to our
left door.
Oven. And then set that down right in line with the other one we made today. And we'll see that piece after about 4 days of slow cooling. But let's get a big round of applause going for the team, Kirsten Hermansson. And we're going to run right into it, too. So we're going to start back again and make another sculpture with some pieces that are in the oven over there. And I can't show you them yet. They're not ready to take out. But when we take them out, you'll see them. But they have some bar color in them. They have some frit powder or frit in them, and then powder color. So it's kind of a kaleidoscope of color. Awesome. Any questions so far? Okay. Oh. Oh, good question. Are these going to be standing together or alone? I'm not sure. I think a lot of them are probably freestanding on their own as far as like not grouped together. Yeah. Each one of them can kind of be their own piece. Yeah, good question. They have a very similar concept, similar theme though. But she's just kind of like riffing off that for this series. Yeah. All right, there's our probably fourth gather of glass. We'll make this into a nice punty that we'll attach to the, we're going to start with it's something that seems to have been put together a little bit beforehand, kind of like a rock formation shape. So there's a whiteboard over here with some of the plans that we have. And so we've made these today. We made one of the ones we're going to make now earlier today, and then we did a large wide tower. That was a tall tower. Now we're going to make another one of those. So kind of a rock formation of glass, and then a big round disc. We're going to add another disc to that, and then more rods to the outside. So these are really fun as well. The initial sculpture we're going to take out is very heavy. It's probably around 20, 25 pounds of glass. And then we're going to add another piece onto it that's probably 15, 20 pounds of glass. And then add more rods. So again, the rods are about 2.2 pounds. So those add up very quickly. That sculpture was pretty heavy that we just put away. So we again start with our gargantuan punty. So we gather glass out of our oven at 2,100 degrees Fahrenheit where it is honey-like and it glows. This ultra clear glass has that honey-like glow and it's really hot, but it'll start to cool. And then you can see that really clearness of it. Here's that constriction line. A little bit more about Kirsten. She studied at the National School of Glass, and I'm going to butcher this one, Orfors, the Royal Danish Academy of Design in Bornholm, as well as the Academy of Fine Arts in Prague under the direction of Roni Pleisel. She devotes herself full-time to her artistic career, which also includes site-specific installations for public spaces. She has exhibited in Scandinavia, the UK, Germany, and Canada, and her works have been acquired by national institutions such as Coty in Bergen and the National Museum in Oslo. Here in the U.S., she has taken different courses at Haystack, Pilchuck, here at the Corning Museum of Glass. And she's been sculpting these objects for about 3 years. And this is a really great way that she's been able to kind of marry all of her different facets of her glass career all in one. So mold making, sculpting, and glass blowing all together. Right now we're going to superheat the very surface of the glass to get it really, really hot so we get a nice stick when we stick this punty onto the glass sculpture that is in the oven right behind Kirsten. But we do want the punty to set up first. If we go to stick this 20, 25 pound sculpture up out of the oven with glass that's stretchy, that glass will stretch and we won't be able to get it to come out very easily and we could ruin it. We could lose it on the floor and it can just fall right off. So we will avoid that by letting it set up. That involves patience. Involves kind of really letting it set up and not going too soon. It's a hard thing to do. We add a little extra heat to the very back of the punty just to make sure that it's not too cold when we go to stick it up. And then I think we're going to take it out from this way, yeah? Cool. And when Chris does that, Kirsten's going to help. It's heavy, so this ergonomically isn't the most fun, so having that little bit of help from someone helping you grab it out of the oven will feel better. Tom's going to take it out. We do have our oven turned down. We're going to turn it off, actually. We're going to turn off our reheating chamber so that when we take the big glass sculpture out of the 1050 degree oven, we don't shock it by putting it into the 2000 degree oven. Instead, it'll probably be around 1900, and that matters. It just eases the temperature a little bit better. So we shut it off for a second. It'll turn back on in a little bit. Here we go. There's our sculpture to start with. You can see all those amazing colors already. He'll press that down really hard to get a good stick, and then we'll bring that out. The other disc next to it, the blue one, is what we'll attach to the top of it. Look at that. Nicely done. And into our oven very quickly. So what you're seeing in this is a casting of multitude of different methods of color application, bar, frit, powder that was packed into a mold and then melted together. So you're going to see little pockets of air. You're going to see pockets of where some of the glass didn't melt all the way. Glass colors move a little differently than others. There are stiff colors that take longer to heat, and there are softer colors that don't take much time at all to heat, and they flow more. When you stick some of these different colors together, some of them might not flow into each other. She was telling me before we started something really interesting, that she sometimes uses those different properties of the material, of the color, in order to create different color patterns. So there's a sculpture we made earlier where she casted it. It was a big cylinder. Then she used the saw to make these markings down the side of it, just kind of straight line markings all the way around. And then when she heated that back up into the oven, she put it in the oven, and we put it on a pipe and put it into the reheating chamber and started to melt some of that in. What she did to prepare for that was she put a soft color right next to a hard color. And when we heated all that up, the soft color bled into some of those lines from the saw because it was softer, and the hard color stayed put, and it created a really beautiful zigzag pattern that I didn't even know you could get in that way. That's such a cool thing to do. So she doesn't necessarily plan and sketch everything out in the very beginning, but she does work with the material enough to know what it's going to do when you place certain colors next to each other, and then melt it together in two different forms, casted and then in the hot shop. And so she's very, very fluent in this material, and it shows. So there's that casting. You're going to see different colors, and now that it's all hot, those colors are going to be a little different. It looks like different shades of red, but I saw earlier we have black, white, some greens, some blues, pinks, and purples. Right now, this is where she's fire polishing the surface. When you're cold working the glass, sandblasting it, carving it, you're grinding that polish away. You're grinding it, so generally it will be a bit more matte than shiny. And so she uses that torch to soften the matte surfaces. And then back to the oven. And then we're going to attach the disc to that, and then a few color bars to the outside. She, let's see here. She does this at home. She creates her plaster molds at home. She has a plaster shop, and then she casts these objects at home too. Then she rinsed time, and she rinsed the studio at the glass factory, and that's where she puts her sculptures together. She also was talking earlier about sometimes when she makes these larger scale cylinders and then she cuts them in half with the saw, because some of the inside colors didn't maybe melt all the way together. Some of them might have been, again, stiff against, maybe stiff in that case. Some of those pieces that get broken off inform her on how to create that sculpture. So she'll use those broken pieces. I shouldn't even say broken, but the extra sections that come off, she'll use that in the sculpture to assemble it, to make it taller and to give that sculpture more of a voice. So we're back to that part of the process where we're heating an area. We're going to add another section too. In this case, it's that large disc. Chris is here to keep the punty hot, just like Tom was earlier. So that role switched. And then Catherine's going to help Kirsten add these sections together again. She's putting on a silver suit Kevlar apron because she's going to push the disc into the top. And that's such a fun little accessory for the hot shop, especially right now when we're going to really put full force, full kind of body weight into this to get this to stick. You get one shot, so you have to do it well. She's putting Kevlar sleeves on her arms, so when she takes it out, she won't feel any of that heat. At this point, we're definitely not going to burn ourselves from the oven or anything, but protecting our arms like that just gives us more time to be with the glass. If we're taking that glass out and we realize our arms are hot, we think about our arms instead of thinking about the sculpture. So putting that stuff on just gives us more time mentally with the piece itself. I got it. I'm going to jump in right here, excuse me. Here it comes. Disc made of multiple blues. She presses that on. She's twisting it, getting it, all of that surface area covered. Wow, look at the other side. That's so cool. And then we quickly go into our oven. Keep that nice and warm. Yeah, let's give her a round of applause. Thank you, thank you. Yep, successful. So we fire polish the disc with the torch. And then we'll start to think about applying the other small disc onto the side. And then some bars. Kirsten came very prepared for this residency, shipping all of that glass here and casting all that glass in preparation. I mentioned that she started this process of preparing for this residency since August. And to do things like this and utilize this time as much as possible, where we're working from the very beginning to the very end each day, means bringing that work with her and being ready for what she needed to put together. So it's been a riot to see all that come together and work with her on this. We have a similar plan tomorrow. That's the final day of her residency, of her guest artist visit with us here. Yeah, it's been very productive. That cratered effect that we see on the front of this cylinder, the round part, the disc, excuse me, is a natural appearance. So that sometimes happens in casted glass, and it looks awesome right now. So we're talking about straightening this a little bit more. Little small nuances that we should take care of now, so that later she's not looking at this cold on a table thinking, well, I wish it, leaned this way or leaned this way. You got to do this now. So we're looking at two perspectives to see the 360. Chris going one, and Kirsten the other. They can talk to each other. So again, these gloves come in handy. There's not a lot of tools you can use to do that. So it's nice to push it around a little and just get it where you need it to be. I get that question a lot. Don't you just want to touch it, you know, when it's hot? No, we don't want to touch it. It's hot. We feel the heat about 2 inches away, 3 inches, 4 inches away from it. So we don't really ever want to touch it when it's hot. But it is fun sometimes when you can do this. You put gloves on and touch the glass and push it around. We use a lot of tools. It's because we can't touch the glass. It's just like cooking. You don't necessarily, you know, mix up your ingredients with your hands and fingers all the time. You can, but you learn to use tools just fine in the kitchen as well. She's heating a specific area now to apply the smaller disc. We've got it nice and centered, so we'll move forward. Another question we get often is, how long can you work on a piece of glass? You can work on it forever, as long as you can keep reheating it, as long as you can anneal it after it's finished. You can keep reheating it and shaping it, reheating it and shaping it. But we don't really work, you know, forever on glass pieces. But you can certainly work on one for a while. There's a few glass artists out there that make work for 6-7 hours or so. Oh, just one piece without a break. But it's rare. All right, we're gonna bring this disc into the picture now. Oh, Jesse's here. So this is another casted ground piece where she use the saw to shape the side. And we have some pieces here that are very similar to that. We have some that have bits of other pieces on there, but these are kind of discs that she has a lot of colors in here. But these are discs that she added together on a different sculpture. Thank you. That's perfect. A lot of different colors and all that. So those are pieces from another sculpture that we put together, and it didn't make it, but she can still reuse those pieces. And that's what she's doing here. So this is another piece from a different sculpture. Or just as she was cutting it, it broke. But these are all things that she looks for in her objects. You want to do that? All right, we'll start to apply some of these rods. We'll see what color it is when she brings it out. I think blue, but I don't know. It's blue. We have some freedom with the shape of this bar. It's straight. That's how they're made, but we can heat it and bend it if we want. We are going to heat it and melt a lot of that in, so it's fused into the sculpture. But we can leave it straight. We can bend it, whatever she wants to do. Nice soft color. Sometimes this color bends naturally. It's softer than the rest, so it'll just kind of naturally get hotter than the rest. And that's fine too. Also encourage everyone to check out her website and her Instagram, where she shows off her work and get a nice understanding of the type of work that she makes. All of this, of course, is giving you that understanding as well. And her website is her name .no. So Kirsten Hermansson .no, and then her Instagram, same thing, Kirsten Hermansson. A lot of soft color. It's moving a lot. So you can see how that changes the way that we work.
Maybe like a little pause and like torch the back and let's let that core, like it's popping all over.
So we're gonna let it cool. We're gonna just hang out for a minute, let that set up a little bit more, let the open air get to it. But we'll keep a little bit more heat on the colder objects, the bars that were added recently, and maybe even the punty on the pipe. So we're regulating that temperature, getting it nice and even. That front loader we've been using has held about, it could hold about 50 of these bars. We're not going to add that many to this sculpture, but We definitely pulled a lot of color bars out of that this week. Okay, we're wheeling that away. We have all the bars we need for this piece. So now we'll take the time to center everything, get everything the right temperature, and then we'll finish it. We're going to put one more little piece on there. So we'll heat where it's going to go with that hot torch. It'll be the cherry on top. Nice. All right. Some last minute adjustments, making sure everything is in line. Now we'll think about the temperature. and then this will go into the oven. So we have, like I mentioned, multiple ovens. This oven that this piece is destined for is not on the hot shop floor, it's behind the hot shop back here. So we're gonna go a little off stage, but the camera will follow us, I think. I'll do my best to narrate. But we won't really see this piece until Monday of next week. It'll need to slowly cool for those days. And that's a program that we write in a computer. So we have these computers attached to the annealing ovens. You can write a program of how long it cools down, what rate at which it drops from one temperature point to the other. And that's how we'll get it down. A lot of this time we're standing out here in this open temperature, or room temperature. We're letting the hot parts cool down. We're taking shorter flashes in the oven.
It's getting close. This was a very flat back to it. We don't really need a pillow, right?
No, but we put it in a face of it.
Jesse's gonna take it with all of his safety gear on again. But we're gonna wheel this back there. We've got ways of transporting that back there where we don't have to pick it up. We have that thing over there called a chariot. We stick the pipe onto the yoke and then walk it. And wheel it over there as close to the annealing oven as possible, and then that leaves Jesse with less carrying duty. I'd say this piece weighs a lot. I'm not sure. Maybe 50, 60. Let's see.
One more, maybe two. I think we're fine, but just to be safe. We're gonna set it on that, knock it off the back. There's water in case you want that. Okay, keep it right there for now. Yep.
All right, this will be our last visit to the oven, and then we're gonna put it away. Yep. So I'm just gonna leave these doors open. I'm gonna jump in and help lift this into the chariot. Chris will drive it. Tom will keep it turning. So then the chariot will come right here in the middle. And then these guys can just walk it back. So there they go. Bye. We have lots of time. It's very thick. It's not going to get so cold that it cracks right now, but these will go all the way to this oven. Then we'll do that whole thing where we put lots of water onto the constriction line. I'm going to hold this for you. You're going over there? Uh-huh. And then Chris will open the door. Jesse will catch it. And this will go into the oven. And maybe we'll get out of his way.
A little back up.
Okay. Here we go. A light tap. Breaks off nicely. And then into the oven it goes. Jesse's in the oven. It's in the oven, and he will back out. And we have a successful sculpture. Let's give it up for the team. And Kirsten Hermansson, what a lovely demonstration. What a lovely week we've been having. I thank you all so much for joining us today, and those of us online who watched as well. Special thank you to Alexis and Jason on our AV team. Thank you to Kirsten, Jesse. You see, okay, we have the camera on as well. Catherine, Tom, Chris, and Kirsten, everybody, give them a round of applause. Awesome. Thank you all. If you have any questions, we'll chat before you go, but otherwise, enjoy your day here at the museum. Thank you so much.